Well, hello, and welcome back to a Champions League video. What? Yes, we're back with another Champions League predictions. We've had our first look, our first taste of this new league format they're doing for the Champions League, and I don't know, it's not been that great in my opinion, although that final day did make some really good viewing, so I'll give it that. As per the new Champions League format rules, the teams that finished between 9th and 24th find themselves in the new knockout phase, in which they'll play other sides that have failed to automatically qualify for the round of 16. It'll see 8 teams join those 8 qualified teams for the proper round of 16, and then it's normal Champions League as we know it from there on out. Now, I'm not going to lie, my predictions flopped. This new format led to some very interesting results, and as I mentioned, a rather exciting final day, with 18 matches happening concurrently. Watching the goal show on that final day was incredible viewing, a masterstroke, if you will. But unfortunately, I did not create any generational wealth. Fuck you, Lille. Anyway, on to those predictions, eh? So, the first match we're going to look at is Club Brugge versus Atalanta. Our first set of fixtures sees the current second placed Belgian side face off against the Italian third place side in what seems to be one of the more equal of these knockout fixtures, on the face of things anyway. Atalanta enjoyed quite a successful Champions League campaign, coming top of this section of the table, I guess you could say, only 1 point off Villa, Lille and Leverkusen, who all automatically qualified. They won 4 of their 8 fixtures, lost 1 and drew the other 3. That included wins over Stuttgart and Young Boys, as well as draws against Barcelona and Arsenal. Some quite impressive outgoings for La Dia. Club Brugge, on the other hand, just squeezed into this group, finishing 24th, only topping Dinamo Zagreb on goal difference. They grabbed 3 wins, 3 losses and 2 draws, grabbing some big wins over Aston Villa and Sporting Lisbon in the process. However, the more I look into this, the more I research both of these teams, it does look as even as I initially thought. But I think I'm going to have to back Atalanta to book their place into the round of 16. The side from Bergamo may be without Ademola Lookman, their current top goal scorer in this competition, but top performers De Ketelaere and Retegui are expected to be fit and firing. Could De Ketelaere haunt his former side? I think so. I'm backing Atalanta to progress. And then we move on to Sporting Lisbon versus Borussia Dortmund. The reigning current Portuguese league leaders face off against the perennial German bottlers, as they both look to book a spot in the round of 16. Despite not being as successful domestically compared to their opponents, Dortmund have enjoyed much more recent success in Europe, as they made it all the way to the final last season, only losing to Real Madrid, which you can't really fault. Sporting haven't been as successful in Europe recently, and without Amorim, that doesn't look like it'll be changing anytime soon. Dortmund only missed out on automatic progression by a single point, while Sporting only managed to qualify by a single point. On paper though, Sporting CP do have the better squad, with Gyökeres leading their line alongside Trincao and Goncalves, so it's pretty solid. But Dortmund aren't short on quality either, with the likes of Adeyemi, Gittins and Guirassy playing for the Black-Yellow. BVB have also just appointed Niko Kovac as their new manager, so we'll have to see what he can do. Don't have the highest hopes for him though, I'm not going to lie. Dortmund have not enjoyed a good season, and Sporting have stumbled since Amorim departed as well. But I think I'll be backing Sporting here, just about. It's going to be a tough clash, given how both sides' current seasons are going. But I think personally, with the quality personnel they have available to them, especially like the likes of Gyökeres, Sporting are just going to edge it for me. They just about take it, but it could be a very, very tough clash for both sides, and more even than we may expect. Somebody's telling me Sporting will just about edge it here. And then move on to Manchester City versus Real Madrid. Oh, would you look at that? Manchester City are facing Real Madrid. Again. Jokes aside, it is quite surprising to see these two juggernauts failing to qualify automatically, and it actually looked like Man City could have missed out on the knockouts at one point, which quite far off my original prediction, I must say. And even more so for Real, as the Champions League is really their competition, and they are the current reigning champions, but they still finished just a point away from the autos, with the likes of Dortmund, Villa, Leverkusen and Arsenal, and not to mention their Madrid rivals Atleti, who are looking very good at the moment, I must say. Real are currently leading the La Liga table after winning it last year, while City are struggling by their own standards in 4th, despite also winning it last year. They've not really enjoyed a great season so far, but things look to slowly be getting back on track to the citizens, or they did until they lost 5-1 to Arsenal. Not great. City also qualified below the likes of Brest and Celtic, which is quite embarrassing to be honest, I'm not going to lie. Real have looked much better than City this season, and especially look a lot more consistent, which isn't really saying much, but if you're not beating Spurs, what do you expect? I actually put both of these sides in the top 2 originally, during the original predictions, so seeing one of these drop out this early is quite impressive, and actually bottling both of those predictions in themselves is just some phenomenal business from myself. Yeah, I'm going to back Los Blancos here. I can't see City getting anything from this clash, especially with how they're playing recently. It's quite embarrassing. And then we move on to Celtic versus Bayern Munich, who have a very nice shirt if I do say so myself, but that's not a slight at Celtic, okay? I don't have a horse in that race, I promise. These are two teams that normally dominate their domestic league, having them locked up quite early on, and also two teams that have very solid atmospheres and will hopefully make for a good set of clashes. Despite the domestic dominance both of these sides boast, they are on very different levels when it comes to their European pedigree. Celtic have won a Champions League and normally see themselves go out quite early in this competition in recent years, whilst Bayern have won 6 and normally go fairly deep in the competition. Bayern are another side that missed out on qualification by just a single point, whereas Celtic snuck into the knockouts by just a single point. I didn't see Celtic qualifying in general, so it's already been a solid campaign for them in my opinion. They did pump Slovan Bratislava 5-1 before then getting pumped 7-1 by Dortmund, so you know, it's not great, and end up qualifying with a negative goal difference as a result. I don't think it's crazy to say that Bayern are the better side here. I think it is just common knowledge, and as such, I see them qualifying. I know the atmosphere of both fixtures will be mental though, should make for some really good viewing. I'm excited to see just what mental shit goes on in these two fixtures. But the real question is, will Bayern put 7 past the Glaswegians like their Der Klassiker rivals? I mean, with Harry Kane playing, with the form Harry Kane's in, it's very possible. And then we move on to Feyenoord versus AC Milan in what I'm dubbing the Santiago Jimenez custody battle. And this is again another example of a European giant that has just failed to qualify by a singular point. Feyenoord have enjoyed a pretty fruitful Champions League campaign as they qualified for the knockouts quite comfortably, whilst it's not been that good of a season for AC Milan, as they couldn't find themselves 8th in Serie A, but did beat their Milano rivals to win the Supercoppa. So you got your silver linings in there. The Champions League campaign didn't start that great for Milan, but they got into it with wins over Brugge, Real Madrid, Slovan Bratislava, Red Star and Girona, securing a knockout spot. However, a last day loss to Dinamo Zagreb prevented automatic qualification and me from winning a shed load of cash. You will not be forgiven, AC Milan. Feyenoord enjoyed some great European nights too, enjoying victories over Girona, Benfica, Sparta Prague and Bayern, as well as a very impressive draw against Manchester City, fighting back from 3 goals down in what might be my favourite match of the group stages, or the league phase, I guess it is now. This is quite a hard result to call, but I'm going to have to back AC Milan here. I think they've got the quality to progress. I mean, that side has some brilliant players within there. You know, players playing some of their best football, I'd say. But then they've got Conceição managing them, who is not exactly getting the best out of the side, I think you could say, if you wanted to put it charitably. It's not looking good. I reckon it'll be a close set of games to call. Feyenoord do have some attacking threats, but either way, I think AC Milan will just about squeeze through. And then we move on to Juventus versus PSV. This is another Italian-Dutch clash, and it's two sides that have actually met once in this competition before, and that was back in the first game week. In that match, the Italians ran out 3-1 winners, but since then, to be fair to the Dutch, they've had a much better run of things since. They closed off the campaign in some style, winning 4 of the last 5 games against Girona, Shakhtar, Red Star, and most impressively, Liverpool, all while sitting at the top of the Eredivisie. Juventus haven't enjoyed as much European or domestic success as their opponents this season. They currently find themselves 4th in Serie A and even qualified for the knockouts behind PSV. Aside from beating their opponents, Juve only won 2 other matches, as they beat RB Leipzig and Manchester City, whilst drawing with Lille, Villa and Bruges. PSV have looked very good this season, and even in their game against an albeit weaker Liverpool side, showed the good football that they can play, and Bakayoko especially was very impressive. I think I'm going to have to back PSV here, you know. They could be the underdog pick. I think most people would say Juventus should win this clash, and maybe they should, but I think PSV will do it, you know. I do think they'll be able to see off Juventus despite losing to them on the first game week of that league phase. I'm going to back the Dutch here. Not something I do often, but I think they deserve it. Bakayoko sign for Forest, please. And then move on to Brest versus PSG. It's an all-French affair as Brest battle PSG for a pass into the round of 16. Now, in all fairness, I didn't expect Brest to qualify for the knockouts, but I did think PSG wouldn't qualify automatically, which they didn't. So I think you can say I got some ball knowledge. PSG have played Brest twice this season, and both times they've won, winning 8-3 on aggregate. Both sides finished the league phase on equal points though, with both sides winning 4 of their games. Brest grabbed wins over Sturm Graz, Salzburg, Sparta Prague and PSV, while PSG beat Girona, RB Salzburg, Manchester City and Stuttgart. PSG currently find themselves top of Ligue 1 as per usual, whilst Brest find themselves in 9th. Bit of a drop off from last season, but that was always expected when they had Champions League football to contend with. It's not going to be an adventurous or crazy pick from me, but I do think PSG will progress here. Each meeting that both sides have had this season, PSG have won by at least a 2-goal margin. Not looking good for Brest, and I suspect we'll see more of the same here. I'm backing PSG to progress to the round of 16, but I love Brest, and I love them to progress. And then move on to Benfica versus AS Monaco. Current second placed Benfica faced third placed Monaco in our final set of knockout fixtures. Both sides have endured a very similar Champions League campaign, level on points and next to each other in the league. How cute. These sides have already met each other once in this campaign, in which Benfica ran out 3-2 winners. The Portuguese side also beat Red Star, Atletico Madrid and Juventus. Monaco beat Barcelona, who Benfica also lost to in what was a very good game by the way. Red Star, Bologna and Villa. These sides are looking quite similar at the moment, which is just represented in their league position, but I reckon that Benfica could just about edge it here. I'm going to have to back the Portuguese side in this one. I'm expecting a pretty equal performance between these two sides, but I think Benfica should just about edge it over their French or Monegasque opponents. It's a very tough clash to call though, and if I'm honest, it's the prediction that I'm least confident in. But I mean, after my league phase shenanigans, who actually knows what's going to happen? Clearly not me. But yeah, those have been my predictions for the knockout phase of the Champions League. This is the first time we're seeing such a phase in the competition, so it should be very interesting to see how that plays out. I'm not the biggest fan of the new format, I won't lie, although that final day was quality, but it doesn't really make up for the rest of the competition just being a bit boring, a bit meh. But you know, that's where we are. But what have you thought of the campaign so far? Did you make generational wealth on that final day? If so, chuck us a tenner, lads. I'd really appreciate it. But yeah, I've been O2GT. These have been my Champions League knockout phase predictions. Hopefully, I get more than one result right, because that'd be impressive. Ideally, I'd get all of these correct, and we'd have a lovely round of 16 to look forward to. But you know, that's how the cookie crumbles, and my ball knowledge apparently isn't up to scratch. But we'll see. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.